Viewers have asked me multiple times about the RF 200 to 500 millimeter. When is it due, they ask? Well, sources have said that it will be coming out in Q1 of 2025. But with Q1 over, Canon Rumors has now published this. We may see an RF 300 to 600 millimeter f5.6 L-series image stabilized USM, and it may hit the market instead of the long-rumored lens. And that long-rumored lens is the RF 200 to 500 millimeter. So, has Canon changed course? Is the 200 to 500 millimeter dead? Well, my source is back with some insight. I'll break it down for you in just a moment. But if you are serious about staying up to date on the latest camera gear, make sure to subscribe. It not only helps this channel grow, but it keeps you in the loop. Canon Rumors was a little bit coy in referencing the 200 to 500 millimeter. The RF 200 to 500 millimeter f4 L image stabilized USM has been rumored for ages, and we know that prototypes were out there. But where is it? And instead of answering that question, where is the 200 to 500 millimeter, a lens that we've heard about going back to 2019, and then every year thereafter, hearing more and more about, oh, it's coming soon. And even we've heard the same things, well, starting in 2024. Well, instead, Canon Rumors started talking about a new lens, the RF 300 to 600 millimeter. I think an RF 300 to 600 millimeter f5.6 L-series image stabilized USM would be a better way to go. And Sigma certainly thinks so. They released their own version of a 300 to 600 millimeter, an f4 at $59.99, and that was all the way back in February at CP+. A Canon version of the Sigma 300 to 600 millimeter, well, it would cost £6 to £7 versus £8.75. But I can guarantee you it's going to come in at a much higher cost, likely $10,000 or more. And certainly, Canon might have switched gears. I mean, they've been working on the 200 to 500 millimeter going all the way back to 2019. I mean, it would seem awfully strange at this point to all of a sudden say, yeah, about that shift. Hey, guys, let's go over to this new shiny 300 to 600 millimeter. Seems a little bit odd, doesn't it? And maybe this is just conjecture. So, do we actually have any information out there that can provide us with any evidence of this change in gears? We have several patent applications covering the 200 to 500 millimeter. And as I said earlier, leaks started back in 2019, but nothing about the 300 to 600 millimeter f5.6 until Canon Rumors post. If we go back in our Wayback Time Machine, Canon filed a patent application 2024 101-302 showing two lens embodiments for the 300 to 600 millimeter, but the aperture range is much faster, starting at f2.8 at 300 millimeters and finishing up at 600 millimeters at f4.5. Sure, f5.6 is a really big deal if you're shooting at 600 millimeters, and this is the 100 to 500 millimeter. At 500 millimeters, I'm shooting all the way at f7.1. All the way at 100 millimeters, it's f4.5. So just imagine for a moment that you've got this 300 to 600 millimeter. It's f5.6 throughout. At 600 millimeters, it's impressive, but at 300 millimeters, not so much. Kind of gets your head scratching a little bit, doesn't it? Now, the patent application, what it shows us is the 300 to 600 millimeter with two embodiments, both showing us an aperture range of f2.8 to 4.5. Now that to me excites me. That gets me really excited. Well, not super excited that I'm probably going to buy it because it's probably going to be priced around $10,000, but think about that for a moment. f2.8, starting at 300 millimeters and going to f4.5 at 600 millimeters. Now that's pro-level range. That's Joshua Halku range. That's shooting images like these. These are all shot from Joshua Halku's Canon EOS R3 R1 with a 400 millimeter f2.8 prime. A faster aperture of f2.8 to 4.5 would offer better low light performance, better bokeh, and better performance than a 300 millimeter could at f5.6. And sure, if you have the 400 millimeter f2.8, then this lens could complement that. But, you know, the funny thing is when I'm out shooting and I'm hunkered down, I'm hiding in the blind and I'm waiting to get that next shot, I generally have thought of the lens that I want to use for the given scenario, for where I'm hunkered down and for what I'm going after, and I put that lens on and I stay with that lens. I usually don't take out a bag of lenses with me. I don't take out the 100 to 500 on the camera, then take out the 200 to 800, and then grab another lens and constantly switch between them. I don't know. I think what's got me here is that I was so excited about the 200 to 500 millimeter f4, which would be terrific for wildlife and sports photographers for shooting outside. It's a really terrific lens. And then to find out that it could potentially be an f5.6, and now being told that, forget that, you're actually getting a 300 to 600 millimeter f5.6. That seems a little bit, well, not as exciting, especially because I've been dumpster diving the patent applications for over a year now, and I see inside the patent applications a much better lens, the 300 to 600 f2.8 to 4.5. That to me is an exciting lens. That to me gets my attention. And even if you have the 400 millimeter f2.8, to have a 300 millimeter at f2.8 that also goes up to 600 millimeters at 4.5, now that really gets my attention. That gets me excited. The 300 to 600 millimeter f5.6 seems more like a camera that's well designed by focus groups and then approved by committee. It seems like the safe bet. Okay, the piece that Canon Rumors put out doesn't sound all that exciting, certainly not at a fixed f5.6. So I reached out to my source who provided me with previous information about the 200 to 500 millimeter, and he told me this: I think the 200 to 500 millimeter may not come, neither f4 nor 5.6. It might come with a 300 to 600 millimeter instead. So my source is pretty much backing up what Canon Rumors is saying, although we don't have any information about the focal range, at least from my source. So you might be wondering then, how good is this information? Who is this source? And obviously I can't tell you information about this source without getting the source in trouble. But I can tell you this. I heard this from somebody who's usually spot on, someone with direct contacts in the industry, and definitely not the type to deal in speculation. Kind of reminds me of the Shakespearean play, Much Ado About Nothing. In a way, that's the epitaph for the 200 to 500 millimeter if it is dead. Much Ado About Nothing. Going back to 2019, and then every year thereafter, at least one post about, hey, it's not dead, it's coming. And it's an f4. And then, late last year, oh, it could be an f5.6. But at the point that I heard that, one of my sources told me, no, it doesn't make sense at an f5.6. It's going to be an f4, and it's coming in Q1. Then nothing all Q1. And all of a sudden now we're being told, yeah, Canon's no longer working on that lens. Now, perhaps that's true. Maybe it's a lens they've been struggling with on the back burner, working on trying to get this lens to work, and it just wasn't able to produce the optical quality that they were looking for, and instead have shifted gears to the 300 to 600 millimeter. Sure, it's possible, but I don't know, it just feels a little bit fishy to me. Now again, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and I myself have worked for many large companies, and whenever we hear something and go, that doesn't make sense, well, it doesn't make sense until you hear that there's been a bit of a shuffle in personnel, because that happens quite a lot in large companies. Every 2 years or so, you can see somebody senior high up who's being, well, switched out for somebody else. And what does that usually involve? Well, then putting their mark on the business. So maybe the 200 to 500 millimeters was moving along, but ever so slowly. And then somebody replaced another person, and that person said, you know what? Let's just scrap this. You spent way too much time, way too much money on it. What about that 300 to 600 millimeter I heard in a previous memo? Why don't we focus on that instead and go ahead and make it an f5.6? It's much easier to do. Let's get that one out the door. That's kind of what I feel like is going on here. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section down below. I want to say a big thanks to you for watching this video, watching it to the very end. If you are looking at purchasing any camera gear, I know there's an awful lot of uncertainty in the marketplace right now, but one thing to be aware of, at least in the United States with B&H and Adorama, we're seeing prices being held right now. And actually not only held, I'm talking about held at sales prices like the R5, the Mark II, $39.99 with a free battery grip, $350 value. A really incredible price. The Mark I, $29.99 with a free battery grip as well. There's a lot of sales on right now. You might want to take advantage of those right now, because who knows what's going to happen in about 90 days. And if you're shopping around the world, well, there's still quite a few deals on cameras and lenses, but the deals that I have right now are to Adorama, B&H, and Amazon.com down below. If you do use my affiliate links, it's very much appreciated because, well, it helps support this channel. And once again, that light's been bumped. It should be directly on me. It's kind of facing here. And yeah, it keeps the lights on, 2 to 5% back, really supports this channel. I don't use any sponsorships. It's very much appreciated, and thank you very much for tuning in, watching this video to the very end. I'm having trouble speaking right now. It's currently 8 o'clock, 8:01. I woke up, I had 2 videos scripted that I want to get published, and I'm just having trouble speaking right now. It's really cold because the heat goes off at night, and it got down to 2 degrees last night. So as soon as I get back upstairs, I got to punch up the heat. So my mouth is a little, I'm just tired. I haven't completely woken up yet, and I'm trying to, this is my second video, so I should be better. Anyhows, thank you so much for tuning in. Have yourself a great day, a great night. Oh, one other thing. If you do want to go behind the scenes and see what happens when I'm shooting these videos, how many times I have to do retakes, see what the studio looks like, or get behind the scenes on review videos, well, then you might want to consider joining. Click the join button and check out my insider level for all that wonderful stuff. Anyhows, thanks so much for tuning in. Have yourself a great day, a great week, and we'll see you again soon.